almost in the bag. I just put my shoe on the wrong foot. That's better. Cool. I'm just putting on some slippers, checking my speeds. We're about 15 minutes early. All is well and good. And I am going to check to make sure we are live. Dom, welcome. I'll be right back. Good. Yep, here we go. Yes, looks like we are live. Fantastic. And Elaine and Scott are back. Man, you guys have been awesome. Really appreciate you coming out. I'll take you to dinner next time I'm in Vegas. It probably will be, gosh, where are you guys eating? Like, where's the first place you guys are going to eat in Vegas when it reopens? Because I'm a huge fan of Lotus of Siam. Really amazing crispy rice, the duck Penang, all of those delicious things are just absolutely spectacular. So, hey, Arnie, welcome. It's good to see you. Hope all is well with you. We were talking about Vegas, and Elaine and Scott know that place in and out. Got to eat at Ferraro's for my first time, which I thought was awesome. Nita, welcome. We're talking Vegas. Lotus is a fave. Yeah, you know, I liked the Gordon Ramsay burger restaurant. I thought that was pretty good. I like the staff there. They were very well. There were David Teague. I hope you are well, sir. It's been a while. Stoked you're there. Robert, we got some new folks tonight. That's awesome. So for the new folks coming in, there's two things you need to know. Number one is I run this off of two different cameras. So if you're looking at me at Wes Hagen Facebook, most people come in at Wes Hagen Facebook, but they normally recognize the old salts that have been here for all 20 days or whatever we've done this, have recognized that when they go over to the J.Wilkes Wines Santa Barbara or J.Wilkes Wines SB Facebook page, hey, Paul, that's where you get the best feed. The feed has a little better quality and it's a little higher resolution. So you might actually be able to see some of the funky books that I have in back of me. Pizzeria Monzu, son of Nora's, the best Sicil food off the strut. Sicil. Am I saying that right? Sicil? Pizzeria Montu sounds like some crazy fusion action. Awesome. Yeah, no, I mean, if you have, that's a really good question, actually. Like, what's the first dining you're gonna do, right? But when you get back into it, this sounds kind of lame, but I'm probably just gonna go down to, that's not lame at all, Trattoria Uliveto down the street for some Northern Italian with Alfonso Curti. Chef Curti he does a special dish with it's almost like scampi meets a cassoulet. It's like a shrimp and white bean dish that uses like really, really beautiful like Northern Italian white beans. Sicilian, Sicil. I thought that was like some kind of really crazy stuff. You know what I was doing the other day, Nita? I was reading. Yes, it's also nice over at J.Wilkes Wines, and make sure to like that page if you go by. It's obviously, I'm just doing this as a clear indication that I want more people to like the J.Wilkes page. But Dishun. It's a fantastic and wonderful cultural book that is also a cookbook from India. And Nita gave me this book at a wonderful Indian dinner. The best Indian food in the Central Coast is in her kitchen, and it's all just totally amazing. So I wanted to show you what a really amazingly and cool book looks like. And the nice thing about it too, like the first page is like. I want to make sure. So this is like an old map of Bombay. Pretty cool stuff. Really cool stuff. So if you haven't been here before, let me tell you how this works. So we start about 10 to 15 minutes early. I usually come in somewhere between 4:50 and 4:45 and 4:50. We hang out, we chat for a little while. We've changed it. Oh, making roasted chicken. Yeah, and you might have actually heard my alarm go off, and that is us making delicious, delicious and wonderful cookies. I haven't made cookies in a really long time, and we just kind of found some almond flour. By the way, if you can't find flour, look up almond flour, because you'll be surprised. If you can't find bread, look up like whole wheat or multigrain bread. We found that healthy food is really easy to find. So we're tending to sort of move a little bit towards a plant-based diet in the world where everyone's looking for comfort food and hamburgers, hot dogs, pizzas, and stuff that's prepared. We're not really big fans of prepared food. We've got hands. We can do that. That's no problem. Cool. We got Eddie Gray in the house, and Dom moved over to the J.Wilkes Santa Barbara side. Zen man, baby, it's all you, dude. You are the man of the hour. I've been working really hard to learn to say Kurjanek Kastelanski. Kurjanek Kastelanski. Kurjanek Kastelanski. Okay, I'm just practicing. Kurjanek Kastelanski. Really important word for tonight. And I will explain to you whether or not it's true that Kurjanek Kastelanski, which is, as I will explain in a little bit, is basically the progenitor of both Primitivo and Zinfandel, that it was actually down to less than 20 vines in Dalmatia before it was rediscovered and saved. And so the question is, how many vines survived in Kurjansky before, just before they found it again, so they could take it back and start propagating it. Susan's here and Janice is here. Eddie's looking ready to rock. He notices. He gave me the hang loose. I've been told hang loose has to be shown under the waist for it to be truly Hawaiian. But I'm hardly a haole anyway, so I can do it any way that I damn well please. Looking forward to this as well. Looks like we've got some more folks coming on. Awesome, awesome, awesome. We've got about 5 minutes. So if you guys have any questions, if you have anything else, I can tell you before we start that this is a mostly non-commercial production provided to you by the fine folks at the Miller Family Wine Company. And the Miller Family Wine Company is the Miller families. They own Bien Nacido, Solomon Hills, and the French Camp Vineyard, 2,400 acres under vine. The Miller family have been farming the Central Coast of California since 1871. They have owned the property at Bien Nacido since 1969, and it's been planted since 1973. We started making wine about 25 years ago. So as a wine company, we're pretty young. But as a farming company, we are one of the oldest multi-generational farming companies in California. We do a lot of different farming, not only wine grapes in that 2,400 acres between Paso and Santa Maria. We also farm a lot of citrus. We farm branch berries, which include blueberries, blackberries, raspberries, and let's see, citrus, avocados. Did you know? Cool fact, you will only learn. What far as my news? I like that. We're going to come back to that. Question, or the answer is Bien Nacido. One thing you don't know about Bien Nacido, I guarantee, is it grows probably the best avocados in the world. Avocados on almost pure calcareous shale and limestone. Max, wow. Pleasure to have you with us. And Franco, thanks again for being here, for sure. And looks like a question from Nita, who owns LXV wines up in Paso Robles. If you haven't had their wines, order a bunch and give them a try. They're really absolutely wonderful. Ask the question, what varietal is my muse? I'm going to have to break it into two. I'm going to cheat. If I had to say one, you know what I'm going to probably say. I'm going to say Pinot Noir. But wait, yesterday or 2 days ago, you said Chardonnay was the grape. If you had to get rid of every grape in Santa Barbara, you would save Chardonnay. That's true. That's a different question. Pinot Noir, I think, tests me as a viticulturist and a winemaker to make a pure wine. Now, Chardonnay is really a wine that's more, to me, it's kind of like an editorial model. It's almost more about the photographer and the set designer than it is the model. You know, it's about the clothes we hang on Chardonnay, how ripe, how much oak, how much malolactic fermentation, converting the sort of appley malic acid to a more soft and buttery lactic acid by virtue of a bacterial fermentation by Enonostoc enos, I believe is the bacteria. So yeah, there you go. And Ian's here. Welcome. And Chef Scott, welcome. Looks like we got some more folks coming in over here. We're just about ready to go. In about 4 minutes, we're going to start talking about Zinfandel. So on Tuesdays and Thursdays, if you haven't been here, so Tuesdays and Thursdays, we just do one wine, and then we talk about the varietal or the varietals that are blended into that wine. So tomorrow we're doing Le Grain, an Alto Adige Subterrole red that we grow in Paso that makes a fantastic wine. If you don't know a lot about Le Grain, I'm going to be breaking down its relationship to Teraldigo, why it tastes like Petite Syrah, and talk a little bit about the wonderful grape that probably I'm going to need to do quite a bit of research on tomorrow. I can speak to Le Grain, but I want to speak to it with a level of sophistication and interest and passion that just rolls off the tongue. So this is kind of fun that I get to be studying up on all these things during the day, and then I get to come to you guys and give you guys all this wonderful information. Thank you, Dom. Dom just ordered a case. Now, I want to, before we start, and at the end, we got 3 minutes, so this is perfect. A little moment, I said that this is a mostly non-commercial thing, but we will want to sell you some wine, and of course, we have some incredible specials if you're interested. We also have. I just got clarity that the Ballard Lane, Smashberry, and Barrel Burner wines that are just so awesome and sold so much wine last week and the week before are still going to be 50% off and $7.50 a bottle. $100 shipped almost anywhere in the United States or less, usually about $90. And that includes the Smashberry Rosé, which just got a 90-point score. And if you need some rosé at home, this rosé is crushable. It is absolutely delicious. And at $7.50 a bottle, you're getting sort of tasting room quality, sort of at Trader Joe's pricing. So think about going on. If you buy a full case, you get 1 cent shipping. And if you order at least 6 bottles of J.Wilkes and 6 bottles of the other wines, you'll also get 1 cent shipping. And then 20% off J.Wilkes, 6 bottles. And then if you go to a full case of J.Wilkes, you get 30% off. And I was told today that if you did 6 bottles of J.Wilkes and 6 bottles of the other 3 wines that I described, and so that makes a case, and you use the promo code DD50, you end up getting the 1 cent shipping. And if you don't get the 1 cent shipping, I'll make sure that it's taken care of. We are absolutely slammed on orders, as you might imagine, but we're still getting them out pretty quickly. And there's Kathy. Hey, Kathy. I think we talked. I hope I know that. I think you said you might have got a new Italian Greyhound puppy. I don't know. I can't remember. I think we had that conversation. Tony, what's up? It's good to see you. Got folks, reps from all over the world in Midwest and Missouri. I saw one from LA. I saw one from Hawaii. Winemakers in Napa. Gosh, it's going to be a good show tonight. I better bring my best. All right. And John had a question. Oh, when is Smashberry Rosé going to be released? It's released. $7.50 a bottle. Get it. MillerFamilyWines.com. You can buy a case delivered for about $90 anywhere in the country. Promo code DD50. DD50. Day drinking 50. Oh, wait, it's day drinking. I'm going to open some wine. Here we go. All right. So Peter Rogers is here. Jane's here. Jolie's here. And we are at 5 o'clock. So at 5 o'clock, by the way, I stopped saying hello to everybody. And then at the end, maybe after we taste the wine, before we start talking about Zinfandel as a varietal, although it's going to match together, I might actually, at the end of the tasting, which should last about 15 minutes. So in about 15 minutes from now, I will stop the tasting and the conversation about Zinfandel, and we'll go back and I'll say hello to all these wonderful people, and we'll shoot the breeze and have a nice little conversation, and probably finish up around, I don't know, somewhere between 5:30 and 5:45. And then Mondays are general wine education, and the show goes an extra 15 to 20 minutes. Wednesdays are advanced wine education, as well as how to make wine and how to grow grapes. And then Friday is about in the business, how to sell wine, how to evaluate wine, and things like that. So pretty fun stuff. All right, so what we got here is 2016 J.Wilkes Zinfandel, Paso Robles Highlands District. So let's talk a little bit about Paso Robles Highlands District, one of 12 AVAs that were simultaneously approved. Oh my gosh, I got great news. So my fourth AVA, which is Alisos Canyon, was just not approved, but it was handed off from the TTB, which does the initial judgment of the AVA petition. And this is for Alisos Canyon in Santa Barbara, down by, sort of down by Los Alamos. And they handed it to the Treasury Department today. And obviously, AVA petitions are not going to be prioritized in the current regulatory climate, but that's a good sign. Handed off to Treasury is a huge moment, so we're really stoked that everything's going to work along. So Paso Robles Highlands District is south of Shandon, east of Creston, and it's basically in the southeast corner of the 12 AVAs in Paso. It's hot in the day, it's cold at night, and one thing you can say, it's the highest average elevation of any of the 12 AVAs in Paso, and it has the highest diurnal shift of any AVA in the United States. What do I mean by that? It really means that that the shift between the high during the day and the low at night, it has the highest shift of any American viticultural area, period. And that is 50 degrees between April and October. 50 degrees between daytime high and nighttime low. So it gets bloody hot during the day and it gets pretty darn cold at night. And why does the cold nights matter? Because a grapevine will stop respiring and close its stomata at about 55 to 60 degrees, preparing for a frost event or a very cold night to protect itself and from cold. So it basically it closes its pores because it starts getting cold. As a result, it stops respiring acid. So the grapes in a cold night maintain acidity. So places where you grow grapes, where you have cold nights, you're generally going to have better acid. Okay. 2016, J.Wilkes. Zin. Welcome to day drinking, folks. So glad you could join. As I always do, I try to find a white piece of paper, give you guys an indication of the color of the wine. It's pretty opaque, right? Especially on the phone camera. So Zinfandel is probably one of the top 3 varieties for me that's grown in Paso Robles. I'd probably put Zin number 1, Petit Syrah number 2, and Cabernet Sauvignon number 3 for wines that really drive my imaginations, wines that I love to make, love to grow, love to drink. I'm not really part of the viticultural team here. Chris Hamill, who's also the Southern California Mixed Martial Arts champion, is doing a very good job, and chances are I'm not going to tell him otherwise. Yeah, there's a great online video of him having his ear ripped off and then putting it back with super glue and then going right back at it. That's as much as I can go off subject because I got a dirty look from my wife. All right, so on we go. Let's smell it. Let's taste it. Here's a cool thing about Zinfandel. It smells grapey. In fact, I got in trouble at University of California, Davis when I was at a tasting class with John Buchenstein. And John told me after we were tasting some Zin, he says, "What does it smell like?" I'm like, "Well, it sounds kind of weird, but it smells a lot like grapes." He says, "That's the one thing we don't use here at UC Davis as a descriptor of wine. We don't use grape or grapey." Oh, okay. Seems a little odd. The one fruit that's actually in wine is the phrase we don't use. The term is vinous. It's pronounced just like the city. Even though it looks like Venice, it's actually pronounced Venice. And it is the name of Antonio Galani's publication as well. So it has a vinous aroma. It's freaking grapey. Raspberries. Really, really bright fruit. Here's a miracle. Are you ready? Knowing what you know about Paso Zin, knowing what you know about me, where would you think a Zinfandel from J.Wilkes would come in on alcohol? Ooh, Charles Sullivan's book. Thank you, Brendan, and welcome. I broke the rules because Chanda went to get the cookies. What do you think on alcohol? I'm just going to tell you so we get right to it. It's 13.9% alcohol for a Paso Robles Highlands District Zinfandel. This wine is about $30 on the shelves. We originally only made 350 cases of it, so we really tried to focus it in and make it a very kind of like a treasure hunter wine. This wine would have been long gone if our tasting room would have stayed open in Los Olivos because it was just leaving there in pretty rapid, at a pretty rapid pace. And what I like is it's drinking better than it did last year. it was a kind of a late release. We held on to it for a while, but it is still so primary. So some people see 2016 and they think, 17 or 18 would be a little bit sort of fresher in a culture where we consume wines within 48 hours of purchase in general. But this wine is still incredibly primary. My original note said that I would go to 2025 for full maturity. I would push that out to 2027 to 2030, depending. Now, if you like the bright, Zinfandel isn't that well known outside of the very high end Zins, some Zins that start with R, maybe up in Lake Country, up in Mendocino, in Knights Valley, Popes Valley, in those areas in Sonoma. Some of those Zins are amazing. Jackass Hill, some of the Zins, obviously, from Ridge are incredibly age-worthy. And I want to make, I did say 13.9. Someone was questioning that. Is it possible to make a Zinfandel at 13.9? Does it suffer? Only if you want it to smell like raisins and port. If you want it to smell like raspberries and freshly fermenting grapes, it's wonderful. Not very spicy. A little bit of that sort of nice kind of loamy earth. But just red berry fruits for days. Nice and ripe, but not quite overripe or jammy. Just really, really nice. It also has an aroma that reminds me of something a little more like a tart cherry. I really don't get much wood in it at all, as far as, sort of a toasty, roasty. I look for bacon fat. I look for espresso. I look for cigar box, or a really strong cedar flavor or aroma, or just the aroma of a French oak barrel. The oak in this it's incredibly well behaved. Now, believe it or not, Zinfandel accounts for 10% of all wine sales in the United States. And you know where I'm going with this, right? Behringer. Yeah, the first white Zinfandel was made as a mistake. They sent a bunch of trucks with Zinfandel fruit into the wrong side of the production facility. So the Zinfandel was not, it was crushed as a white wine to make a rosé, mistakenly. And then basically they tried to call it Eye of the Partridge in French. Anyway, nice French, right? My mom tried to teach me French as a baby, obviously failed. But the Eye of the Partridge in French was rejected by the TTB, so they said, "Oh, just call it White Zinfandel, slap a label on it, and send it out." And it sold like freaking hotcakes. And White Zin, for all of the hate that it gets, because it's not dry, it's not serious, it's fun, it's the Budweiser of wine, whatever you want to call it. Two things about it. Number one, it saved most of the old vine Zin in the United States, specifically in California, because without White Zin and keeping Zinfandel prices above maybe $600-700 a ton, I could ask Ian, that they would have ripped it out and planted something else. But because demand for Zin, specifically for white Zinfandel, which is the same grape, obviously, it's just the way that it's made in the winery, actually kept the price of Zin high enough that no one pulled out these beautiful old sort of heritage legacy Zinfandel vines. And that's why you can still find 100-year-old Zinfandel, or even older Zinfandel than that. And does the vine age really matter? These were, I think, planted in about 87. And obviously beautifully mature vines that make a wine that shows a lot of love, a lot of fruit. And hey, it's about time. Happy day drinking, everybody. I don't spit after 5 o'clock. Day drinking for me is generally tasting, taking notes, spitting before 5 o'clock, but after 5 o'clock, I'm sort of on my own time. Okay, so we've got, again, Paso Robles Highlands District Zinfandel. We talked a little bit about the flavor profile in the mouth. It's got beautiful acidity, nice lift. It's balanced, it's soft, a lot of fruit in the mouth, good persistent finish. And there's a beautiful kind of brambly raspberry character that's really persistent on the finish. So after I've swallowed, it's been about 12 seconds, I can still taste that wonderful sort of a mix, when I say brambly, it kind of like the aroma of like a sort of a sagey hill in California on a hot day, kind of has that sort of just aroma of all the plants giving off all their wonderful planty smells. It's sort of at a level that you just kind of barely get it, but it really shows beautifully. 2016, J.Wilkes Zinfandel. Oh, at a 10%, remember, so 10% of all wine sales in the United States are Zinfandel. In that 10%, white Zin, 6-1 over red. Still, to this day, these were 2018 numbers. So for every bottle of red Zinfandel that we're drinking, Americans drink, 6 bottles of white Zin. Probably faster, too, than that. Here's a secret that I once in a while tell. I'm sure a few of you have probably heard me say this before. Is that about once a month when I can walk into a restaurant, my local sushi place makes a really good spicy tuna roll, which is one of my favorite foods, and they can make it without rice, so it has no carbs. And I find that a spicy tuna roll with a little extra sriracha and maybe a little soy sauce is absolutely fantastic with white Zinfandel. So I have a glass of white Zin, and I've actually been caught by other Santa Maria winemakers walking into the restaurant seeing, oh, I didn't know they had blush here. I didn't know they had, what rosé are you drinking? I'm like, it's not rosé. Well, I mean, it is rosé. It's white Zin. And they'd be like, dude, you're drinking white Zin? I'm like, have you ever had a glass of white Zin with a spicy tuna roll, especially like on a nice kind of warm Santa Maria day, which is like 72 degrees? It's a fantastic match. Really nice. So as far as food that I would match with this, I think barbecue, I think comfort food, I think pizza, I think of pasta, I think of Italian. If I'm going vegan, I'm thinking maybe like an eggplant Napoleon with goat cheese and tomatoes and squash. You can even finish it with some smoke. I think that would be wonderful. It'd be great with barbecue because the wine doesn't really have very much oak and smokiness per se. And so as a result, what you're kind of tasting is just the pure fruit and a wine that was really spent probably a little bit of time in barrel, but I just don't get any new oak on this at all. If there was new oak, it's probably under 5%. So it's pure juicy, pure fruity, good grip, a little bit of acidity. I think the people that want their red wines fruity and soft are going to be like, oh, this is perfect. It's bone dry, by the way. There's probably less than about 2.5 grams of residual sugar. Again, men pick up residual sugar between 4 and 5 grams per liter on average. A really talented male taster can take that down to about 3, maybe even 2.5. And then women pick up residual sugar somewhere between 2.5 and 3.5 grams of residual sugar. So women taste and smell better, both literally and figuratively. So there you go. Evolutionarily, like I said just a couple days ago, women were in charge of determining what was safe to eat in the tribe. So if the man's muscles failed, the tribe would die, a violent death. But if the woman's nose failed, the tribe would die a slow and horrible death, being slowly consumed by poisons, toxins, bacteria, and viruses. That which can be consumed. So man goes out, kills an animal, throws it down. The woman would use her genius of human discernment to decide if that piece of meat was safe to eat. So there we go, back to barbecue. Let's see, gave you a vegetable Napoleon, maybe. I mean, it would be great on like a nice cool night like this with some beef stew. Be great with, I always go to pork loin because pork loin, gosh, it's so inexpensive and it's easy to find. So we do a lot of barbecued pork loin over red oak. I also do it over mesquite sometimes. It's an absolute beautiful thing. I love barbecue with under-oaked red wine or white wine. That's why I always say, okay, barbecue wine, Wes, go. Pinot Blanc. Wait, why would you do Pinot Blanc? Pinot Blanc is perfect with barbecue because it's like a wet nap for the mouth with that beautiful structure, and the flavor profile works perfect. Dirty wings, fried pickles, and some ribs, at Salt and Smoke in St. Louis. I had the pitmaster try a rib with the Pinot Blanc. It got on by the glass, which is, at the time, was the #1 ranked white tablecloth barbecue restaurant in the United States. Good stuff, good stuff. All right, what else can I tell you about Zinfandel? Where did the name come from? Now, this one I'm going to have to look at because the best guess we can is that as the grape traveled through Austria, either being consumed or being grown, Austrians, and again, every German in the world besides Goethe and Beethoven is Austrian. There's no such thing as a famous German. The literature looks like they called it Zinfandel. Zierfandler. So that's probably where the name Zinfandel came from. Even though Kurjanik Kastelensky, I did not look at my notes. That's what practice in a mirror helps you do. Kurjanik Kastelensky is the Slavic, I believe, Hungarian name for it. And then again, Tribodag is what they call it in Croatia. And so when poor Carol Meredith was given the job of finding out where Zinfandel comes from, she did all of the genetic testing. She did all of the genome work. She worked with a number of different scientists in Italy, Croatia, Dalmatia, and all these places. Boom, it turns out that there's a genetic similarity that is so close that she called it ZPC. The official name in the Davis record for Zinfandel is ZPC, which stands for Zinfandel Primitivo Kurgenic Castellanski. So it is basically the same grape. Primitivo is Kurgenic is Zin. Although there is just enough genetic distinction between the two that Californians, myself included, are proud to declare Zinfandel as the one of two what we call heritage varietals in California. So Zinfandel really is a grape that originally was developed from Kurgenic and Primitivo up north in California to produce beautiful wines, mostly probably for the gold miners, 49ers. What up? So that's going to be really important stuff to remember, that Zinfandel in California is named something a little bit different, became something very important to California viticulture, and now it's actually being grown in Australia with some success. So Zin is actually starting to pop up in other places than California. I mentioned to you that in 2001, they went in to try to find a Kurgenic Castellanski in Dalmatia and everywhere else, and no one could find it. It appeared to be a dead varietal, a varietal that had been lost in modern viticulture. There was no such thing as a live Kurgenic vine that could be proven to be pure Kurgenic, not Primitivo, not Zin, but that pure Kurgenic grape. They finally found some in Dalmatia in 2001. Their belief was Kurgenic was down to 11 vines in Dalmatia. So we have saved Kurgenic, which is great. So now we can continue to look and maybe even look at making different clones of Zinfandel, maybe backing up to some of those older clones. So Zinfandel makes a delicious off-dry rosé. It actually makes a really nice dry rosé. I've had someone like 10 years ago made a $100 white Zin just to be cheeky and sold it because I think, it's like one of those things where you want it just to show someone, to say, I have a $100 white Zin. It was kind of a brilliant move, actually. It was as brilliant as Plump Jack putting a $100 Cabernet from Napa under a screw cap. They got $1 million of free advertising for that. And so one thing that I'm learning, and I am actually reading a little bit out of Wine Folly, which if you don't have this book, you should. There's a couple things in here that I wanted to share with you, and that is that, Sylvaner, if you love Sylvaner, it turns out Sylvaner is a genetic mutation from Kurgenic. Whoa, wow, that's incredible. Sylvaner is a beautiful white wine that's generally grown in Germany, Austria, and maybe some places in, maybe a little bit in Alsace, I want to say, a little bit in California, but it's a beautiful white aromatic wine. And that it really shows various different characters and flavors depending on how hot it is where it's grown. So if you pick it at like 22 or 23 bricks, you can expect the wine to smell like boysenberries. If you pick it at 23 to 24, maybe strawberries, then you get blackberry at 24. And if you go 25, 26 or higher, you can expect to start getting raisins. This wine, according to my notes, was picked right at 23.4 bricks. So we could expect it to show strawberry and blackberry character. I find it more like raspberry, but who cares what I smell? When I put my nose in it, I want to drink it. And when I drink it, I want more. So glad you're all with me on day drinking. Let's see, if I was going to share one last thing with you. How about between 1880 and 1900, Zinfandel was the #1 planted grape in California, 1880 to 1890. And that would have really been sort of the very end, probably of the effect of wine production moving from Southern California, where it really started in California, Anaheim, Los Angeles Basin. If you think Grape Street is named for a gang, You're wrong. If you think Vine and Viña and Vine Street and all that, Vineyard Street, all the different Vine Street in LA, it's all because that was all vineyards. LA was the first place in the New World that successfully grew European-styled wines. Think about that. LA was the first successful New World wine region. So why did it suck? I mean, at the end, why do we not drink wines from LA with gusto? I've had good wines that are grown in LA, and I think you have too. It's really because basically for two reasons. One was Anaheim's disease, which we now call Pierce's disease for the doctor who actually found out that the virus was anyways, it was a virus. Xylella fastidiosa. As soon as Pierce's disease, Anaheim's disease, hit the LA vineyards, people started losing production, and they started feeling, you know how it is when your company is influenced and impacted by a virus, you got to do something about it. So what ended up happening is all of a sudden, this was at the exact same moment they found gold at Sutter's Mill, and everyone who could walk or move and that wanted money was moving up to Northern California. So basically the money and the vines were taken from Southern California and moved to Northern California, following, I just love anything that I can say 49ers in. So there you go. That was kind of what happened and why it did. Zinfandel obviously can be grown with great results in Rancho Cucamonga, and used to be the part, and if I can talk about 49ers and Grateful Dead in one paragraph, that's even better, which was the predominant grape in a famous wine called Pride of Cucamonga, which turned out to be a Grateful Dead song that they wrote sort of as a joke because they recorded live from the Mars Hotel in Cucamonga, California. Maybe they just needed to get out of Northern California because they were getting too popular. Crazy stuff. All right, I'm just about ready to finish up on Zin, then I want to open it up to questions, and I want to welcome everybody that I've seen. If you are here for the first time, I talk about a wine. This is the 2016 J.Wilkes Zinfandel. Bright, fruity, primary, not a lot of oak, very moderate alcohol, only 13.9, so it's really bright, fruity with red berry fruits, no raisins, no port. Be beautiful with a hamburger, with pizza, with pasta, with a vegetable Napoleon, with goat cheese fritters. It's delicious. It's Zinfandel. It's just throw it on a table and eat whatever the hell you want. It's beautiful. And we do call this day drinking. So I do expect all of you that consume and enjoy adult beverages to be consuming along with me. And I'll always, oh yes, Carol Shelton. Okay, this is official. I'm gonna start looking at comments and talking about it. So Nikki Palson, if you don't know Nikki, she was one of the original owners of Liquid Farm, a wonderful person. And her husband at the time, we hooked up at an LA tasting, and she came up to the table and was like, "Oh, Wes, will you sell us some Chardonnay?" And yeah, I said yes. So that's kind of the beginning of how Clopepi and Liquid Farm started working together. And honestly, some of those wines, those original wines, and James's wines a little bit later, are some of my favorite Chardonnays ever produced on the property. So it's really, really nice having you. Pepper or spice? I always say that I smell baking spice in a wine. If there's any pepper, it would be a little bit of white pepper, but it's sort of at the edge of perception. And as soon as you start saying, "Hey, do you smell melon?" Yeah, maybe a little melon at the edge of perception. So Julie may have been giving me some ideas. And then one thing that Nikki said before I get off that is Carol Shelton. And Carol Shelton and I have been judging wine together for about 25 years. And she is just a total gem. She sort of looks like you're sort of like maybe a Hogwarts professor meets your grandma. And then she busts out these like zins and cabs that she made. And the very first time I judged wine, I believe it was either the first or second year, this would have been probably late 90s at the LA County Fair. She was a wine judge there, and they never put people's wines on the panels of the judges. But I think one of her zins or one of her cabs, I can't remember. It went to, we didn't know it was hers, but it went to sweepstakes and won the chairman's award for best wine of the competition. And I remember the look on her face when she was surrounded by all these people, because she's just one of these hardworking, subtle people that you want to see people recognize how hard she works and the beauty of the wine that she's making. And Richard Takata, thank you for stopping in from Napa Valley. I always love when you guys come in. Let me know who you are, or I know who you are, but let me know where you are and what you're drinking. Kurgenic. I managed to say it twice without looking. Come with your thoughts of doing a TED Talk. Yeah, I mean, I've been nominated like 10 times to do a TED Talk. I'm waiting for the call to go. I've been told it's sort of like if you're not, like famous enough for name recognition, that it's a little hard to get in for sort of a, I guess I would, what would it be? Sort of a test drive, me going down there and sort of showing them what I can do. I did an Esri talk in Redlands, and that was for 450 people, and I thought I crushed it. Unfortunately, they didn't have the budget to record it, which just killed me because I think that would have been just lovely to have on tape, and that was on the history of wine. That was a 45-minute talk with 15 minutes of questions, but I know I can do history of wine in 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 7 minutes, 12 minutes. You tell me how many minutes, and sometimes I'll just skip the Romans. Sometimes I skip the Carthaginians. It just sort of welcomes. So thank you for that question, Stephen. I'm hoping if you're so inclined, you can definitely go over to TED.com or TEDTalk.com. I think it's just TED.com. And you can nominate a speaker. And if you think I do a good job on the history of wine or a history of intoxication, it'd probably just be the history of wine, go over there and nominate me. That would be awesome. Thank you so much for asking. And as far as like the family tree of Vitis vinifera that he was talking about, really, I mean, on a really super massively basic basis, we've got Vitis sylvestris. Okay. And Vitis sylvestris means the forest vine. And then Vitis sylvestris basically breaks off, before that, Vitis ampelopsis goes to American subspecies and Eurasian subspecies. Eurasian subspecies goes through a number of very close to extinction events and survives only the last ice age between the Black Sea and the Caspian Sea. And then basically, there's a domestication event, and every grape that produces vinifera wine in the world, European-styled wine in the world, can be traced really genetically back to one single vine, one single domestication event, which basically was a vine that had a massive genetic mutation, it was hermaphroditic or perfected. So for every berry, there were 5 male berries, 5 male flowers surrounding every berry. So the vines didn't have to attract birds or attract bees or attract insects or other pollinators to move between the male vine and the female vine. Say what you will about sexual reproduction, but in botany, it's really sloppy and really inefficient. It's much more efficient to have male and female parts on the same fruiting unit. Maybe not as fun. You don't get to dress up, put on some cologne, and go out clubbing, I guess, but still fantastic, and we're very lucky. So you can take any grape in the world and really genetically take it back. And this was done, a lot of work done by Dr. Patrick McGovern at the University of Pennsylvania, trying to discuss this. So that's awesome. All right. And McPrice Myers, love it. All right. Okay, there we go. Sorry, I lost my screen for a second. Victoria, Tom Rubendahl. Oh my gosh. So my best friend from junior high, who I haven't seen in 15, 20 years. He's a computer expert. Tom Rubendahl. So he was like my best friend in 7th grade when I moved from Long Beach to La Cañada, and we were inseparable. His parents had a video recorder that had it was a suitcase with a full-size TV camera. And we'd take it outside and blow up army men with M80s, and we would use my brother's insulin syringes with gasoline and shoot gasoline and melt melt army men. And we had such a good time. We got into some serious trouble. Tom Rubendahl, he decided to do a gainer, which is basically a back flip off the roof, second story roof of my La Cañada house into our pool, and missed the coping by about a foot. And when he was in the air doing a backflip off the roof, my mom walked out. She came home early. And that was about as angry as I'd ever seen my mom, and trying to convince me in her perfect $600 language that I had done everything I could to ruin our family by killing my best friend in our backyard. So, I mean, I could tell stories about Tom Rubendahl for days, but Tom, What a pleasure. I think you're still in Arizona. I think you're in the Phoenix and in the greater Phoenix area. So that's absolutely fantastic. Glad you're here, Tom. And reach out. Let's chat. And then let's see. And we're Stephen Galvin's telling some stories about Zin. Ooh, wines made from Zin in Santa Cruz region. It was gray. Gray wine does not sound like fun. Kent Pierce. By the way, next week we are doing Kent's wine. Kent Pierce was one of Jeff Wilkes' best friends. He was the executor of his will, and he's also an amazing guy. I've had a fantastic time with his wife. He and his wife at the Santa Barbara Yacht Club, where the Miller family met Jeff Wilkes, which was sort of the Axis Mundi, the place, the moment, and the location where J.Wilkes wines really started. Kent, we make a wine called Kent's Red. And so the Kent of Kent's Red, and we'll be showing that wine next week. Check the calendar. And we are going to be showing Kent's wine, so we hope Kent hangs out then too. Kauia's Run in the proposed new AVA. I don't know where the Kauia's Run is. That must have been planted before I did or after I did the AVA. Right now, I believe the only vineyards within the Alisos Canyon AVA are going to be Martian and Thompson. Martian is actually in Comasa Canyon, and we had to make a very, very hard decision whether to omit or include Comasa Canyon in the southern boundary of Alisos Canyon. One thing that the literature at Martian Vineyard did mention their proximity to Alisos Canyon, and that they're off of Alisos Canyon Road. And when we looked at the wind and everything else coming into that area through basically following San Antonio Creek from the Pacific Ocean, 26 miles, we found that Comasa Canyon shared that same climatic influence, and we decided to be generous and include Comasa Canyon, so there would be at least two vineyards within the AVA. There was another AVA that became, I think, a flower farm. Or another vineyard, not another AVA. It is okay that you're day drinking with Coors Light. It's an important beer. And I just had a big argument with a bunch of craft beer geeks that American lager represents craft. That I had a master Cicerone once tell me, I'm like, all right, stud, who's the best brewer in the United States? He's like, it's probably the head brewer at Anheuser-Busch. Because if you can make lager beer with the ingredients they use and make it as incredibly consistent as they do, that inexpensive American lager is a miracle. And the fact that, Miller tastes like it does, Coors tastes like it does, Bud tastes like it does, Pabst Blue Ribbon, all those beers, they're session beers, and lager did some amazing things for the United States. Lager is a very important part of our culture. And Richard and Rick, lovely. Is the Zin winery only? No, we are actually, it is available. If you wanted to bring it in to Missouri, you certainly could. You just put in a PO, and I know I know you know someone who can write a PO. It's line priced with the other J.Wilkes Reds and ends up on the shelf usually for about $24.99. And I believe, and you get it if you buy a mixed case of J.Wilkes, you would get it for, let me make sure I say this right, it would be $20. $20 for a kick-ass Zin. That's not too bad at all. In fact, I keep forgetting to day drink because I'm doing other things with my milk. Delicious. Okay, awesome. Catherine, love to have you here. All right, and Franco, I think I caught up. Brian's here. Brendan, thank you so much for being here and selling our wine down in Orange County and in the Inland Empire. Charles Sullivan. So there's a book. So Brendan Laws is a guy that I would put up there. We could go mano a mano with our wine knowledge. I think he's probably a better taster. I know a little more about history. He knows a little bit more about Europe and the technical aspects. I should have him on the show sometime. We are going to turn this show into like maybe a weekly video podcast or something where I have guests and stuff. And once we can travel again, I'll do this from wherever I am in the world. So you'll get 30 states a year with Wes doing something crazy. Now I've set myself up for a bunch of work. Philippe, thank you for being here. John Rodriguez, I hope everything is well. Allison is here. Cheryl and Mark, awesome. Bill and Julie. Awesome. I think I caught up on this side. Kirby, Mikhail, Bob's back, Franco. Yep, I think I caught up on the J.Wilkes side. So let me do what I can to catch up over there. Thank you, Dom, for ordering a case. Again, the promo code at Miller Family Wines, DD50, gets you 50% off. Ballard Lane, Sauvignon Blanc, Chardonnay, Pinot Noir, Zinfandel, Cabernet. All of them, I think every single one of those wines has 90 plus score. And then you have the Barrel Burner, Chardonnay, Cab, both 92-point score. A little more of the oaky, more, I say, Napa style at Paso pricing. But now those wines are discounted down to $7.50 a bottle for a 92-point Cab and Chard with some good oak in it. I can't even say Paso pricing. I can't even say Temecula pricing because Temecula wines are expensive. But they're getting better, which is lovely. And Dom's here, and John's here, and Jane came in, and Jolie came in. Awesome. Shannon just looked over and smiled when I said Jolie. And Peter, just a few cities over. You know, we've got Glendora with Jolie, and over in Chino Hills for Peter. So welcome. Michelle and I have been talking for a bit. It's awesome. You guys can always send me messages at any time on Facebook. And if you ask questions that I don't answer in the original broadcast, as I'm doing now, I will, of course, go back and answer them. It's the first thing I do now. Before I even check my email, I go back and see how many people watch this damn thing because, you know, I care. Josh is back, so we're safe. We've got law enforcement here. And unless there's a DUI checkpoint between here and the kitchen, I think we're safe. Plus, I never really take myself over 0.06 anyways. But the fact that we are day drinking and I'm in charge means I should probably have another sip of wine. It's really opening up. And that brambly, okay, maybe there is a little bit of spice, a little bit of white pepper, maybe almost, and the fruit is growing. I bet decanting this for maybe 2 or 3 hours, I bet it's going to be better tomorrow. And I bet when I open it up tomorrow, it's going to be so effusive, I'm going to be thinking that I'm just smelling freshly crushed raspberries. It's really lovely. About the AVA designation. Thank you, Michelle. Excited about that. Kelly's back, and Kelly is Jeff Wilkes' sister in Plano, Texas, as I say almost every night because she always joins us. All right, Zin Man, if you have any other questions, Phil Carpenter's here from Santa Barbara County Vintners, doing good work, helping us change our businesses on the fly. If I hear the word pivot in a business meeting one more time, I think I'm going to freak out. But yes, we are pivoting. And what am I doing right now? I'm pivoting. If my pivot could only be as good in my disc golf game. All right, Alexander Smith, Santa Lucia Highlands Pinot Noir. That sounds delicious. Eddie Gray in the house. Samantha, welcome. No. Yeah. Chanda asked if I was waiting to start my second part of tonight. Tuesdays and Thursdays, all we do is one wine and we hang out for a little while. Saturdays, there is no subject and I do not bring anything to drink. We talk about what you're drinking. Saturdays at 5 o'clock, we hang out for about an hour. The first time we did it was a Zoom tasting, and I really liked it because everyone was talking. We could listen to each other and everything. Unfortunately, I'm having a trouble with my camera and Zoom, so I might actually continue to do that on Facebook Live or try to figure out better ways to do it. All right, couple more people coming in, and we've got Bruce, Samantha, Vince. Oh boy! So we've got Vince Anter over here watching, and if you know Vince, if you've been watching, if you've been a member of Amazon Prime or at least had your ears open in the wine business this last year, you know that Vince Anter is actually V is for Vino. It's the #1 rated wine show on Amazon Prime, and I am actually in one of the episodes, which I'm sure didn't help, but. Vince and I have worked together. He showed me something I'd never seen before, an absolute crack pro Hollywood production team coming up to shoot a wine video, you know, like someone like a producer and a videographer and a sound guy and I mean, it was absolutely fantastic. And the quality of those videos. And I love so many times when people are asking questions about wine in a wine documentary, I'm second guessing them like, oh, well, everything comes out of Vince's mouth. I'm like, that's a great question. So if you've not seen V is for Vino, you owe it to yourself to go over to Amazon Prime, or I believe you can watch them online too. Vince will tell you if there's other places besides Amazon Prime. He'll let you know. But if you just Google V is for Vino, hello, you are going to go down another awesome rabbit hole of wine information. Yeah, I think probably between 1880 and 1900. The question was in 1901, what took over for Zinfandel as the #1 grape in California? I'm going to make a note of that, and I'm going to find out what it was. Something tells me that Ian, who's our Miller Family Wine Company fresh fruit salesman, is probably yelling it, so that I could hear it across the Central Coast of what I bet he knows what took over in 1901. My guess would not be Cabernet Sauvignon. My guess would be a wine, because fine wine wasn't a thing. It would have been a grape that they would get better production from. My guess is Grenache. Ruby, I don't know. We'll find out. We'll find out for you. But that's a very, very good question. And Vince says he loves Liquid Farm. And if Vince loves it, you'll know it's good. Oh, and you are so, that's quite fancy, drinking Pichler Gruner Veltliner. That's awesome. Oh, V is for Vino put up History of Wine with Wes Hagen. Thank you, brother. Old Vine, Zin Man Living Up, 2010 Mazzanetto. Beautiful. Richard Reel, welcome. It's been a while. Hope all is well with you. Let's see. Carpinteria, what's your barrel preference for red wine? Okay, it depends on what I'm making. So the different forests in France all have a specific affinity for certain varieties. For instance, there's a barrel called Demi, and actually Nikki Palsom actually showed me my first Demi barrel. I think I'd seen them before, but she's like, oh my gosh, we got 2 new Demi barrels. Here, smell a brand new barrel. And you can always tell anyone who's in the wine business, because when someone tells you to stick your nose in the bunghole and you don't even giggle, you've been a production winemaker for at least 10 years. I remember smelling that Demi barrel and thinking, I think I finally found something that smells better than white truffles. That's how beautiful those barrels are. Demi, Chardonnay. Older Demi, Pinot Noir. Absolutely, no problem, but I would not waste the aroma of a Demi barrel on Pinot Noir, which is a weird thing to say. I'm sure it would make beautiful wine in Pinot Noir, but when I think Demi, I think Chardonnay. French oak, 100% French oak. So besides Zinfandel, Petit Syrah are the 2 grapes that I would consider using a small amount of American oak, because I think they minimize the dill and they can soak up a little bit of the extra vanilla, and the toastiness and the aggressiveness of the American oak, I think, are tempered by Zinfandel and Petit Syrah. So those would be probably the only 2 wines that I would use American oak. Everything else I would use French. Now at Clopepi, I was using Russian oak. I was using a little bit of Croatian oak. I was using a little of Hungarian oak in our Access Mundi program, which was all Rhones. So Grenache, Syrah, Mourvèdre. So those were fantastic. Now, when you get into Pinot Noir, suddenly you're looking at a question that opens a huge can of worms. There are 3 vineyards, a few forests that I really love for Pinot Noir. So Pinot, because I probably bought more barrels for Pinot Noir than anything else in my life, I would say Allier, Tronchet, and Bertrange. And those 3 vineyards, to me, produce the best wood in the world to age Pinot Noir in. If I had to choose one barrel to use for the rest of my life, for everything, and I had to choose one barrel, I would probably choose Ramond, Tronchet, medium toast, toasted heads. Like, I was so lucky, the guy from Ramon, because I always said such nice things about him. Normally, back when I was buying Ramon barrels for Clopepi, they were so rare that they kind of like, for the Tronchet, they said, well, did you order 100 barrels last year? Okay, we'll give you 10. We'll give you 10 Tronchet. I would be like, I'd have to buy a couple I'd have to buy a couple Bertrange, but my Ramon guy would always be really, really cool and let me buy a couple of Ramon Tronchet. So in your life, you should smell at least 3 things. One is a fresh white truffle from Alba, Italy. Second one is a brand new Demi barrel. And the other one would be smell a brand new Ramon Tronchet barrel, because I think they all are absolutely fantastic and amazing. I got a question from Tommy. What's the quote? All wine matter. All winemakers drink beer while they're waiting on the wine. Yes, or it takes a lot of beer to make wine. That's very true. One reason is beer is a very good working buzz. Like if you're having to drive the forklift, you're having to work with heavy equipment. I mean, I've seen guys who've had their thumbs taken off in a crusher destemmer, hand taken off in a crusher destemmer. I saw an auger injury of someone with long hair that got caught in an auger. You got to be careful, right? You know, never sober, never drunk sort of thing. You know, be careful, and don't be stupid. Beer seems to be sort of the long game as far as if you're going to have a little something to drink. My rule in my winery, we do not drink at the Miller Family Wine Company during production. But back when I worked at Clopepi, we had a rule that in general we didn't drink unless we were doing like an entire day's work, and maybe at the very end, or if we were making wine at night. The rule was we would have a beer during our cleanup period, which was 25% of our night, which is cleaning up the mess that we made. Because unlike many wineries, we would actually sterilize and clean to perfection our winery every night during harvest after we had completed our daily winemaking. So there you go. It does take a lot and I do love beer. I do wish I could drink more. Love it. Love that you're learning so much. Did you make the Zin? Yeah, 2016. So I started as the winemaker at J.Wilkes in 2015. So this is under my winemaking title. I have to say though that Clay Brock, who was the winemaker of the year in 2010 in Paso Robles, Richard Shelton, Thomas Fertel, Kate Bennett. No, I don't think Kate was there yet. All these guys run our cellar, and we've got another 40, 50 guys that work our cellar. So was I topping the wine? Was I testing the wine? No, I wasn't. I probably went up, tasted the fruit up in Paso before we pulled the trigger. But I am the winemaker in title. It's my responsibility. I take care of the wine to make sure that it ends up being delicious, balanced, and makes you happy. So the answer is yes. And Anne Marie, I'm so glad that you're learning, and Tommy, and so nice to have you here. Serving the wine community, yes, that's right. To protect and serve. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Josh. San Diego County Sheriff. Samantha. Oh, Samantha, sounds like she's got the Zin in front of her, and she says it's so good, which I like. Good to see you, Wes. It's good to see you, Michael Holland. Michael Holland is the archivist for the city of Los Angeles, and I love having conversations with that man. All right, V is for Vino's in a hairs, and he's got he's over on the J.Wilkes Wine Santa Barbara Facebook page. You do have a link for the Santa Barbara V is for Vino, as well as the series, the series. Good stuff. Yeah, so Michael Holland, being the home winemaker and the archivist that he is, he suggests that Grenache or Alicante Bouschet became the #1 grape in California in 1901. And Phil Carpenter is drinking some Fiddlehead Lollapalooza. Nice. I went to the first 4 Lollapaloozas. Pretty good stuff, fun. I remember Jane's Addiction in 1989 just blew the top of my head off. And Fred Carbone, welcome again, sir. Can you grow decent Zin in Los Alamos? You know, the only Zin that I know of, and I'm sure there's got to be other Zins, right, in Santa Barbara. So what up with Zin in Santa Barbara? Is it just not warm enough? Well, sure, it's warm enough. I mean, I think Happy Canyon could grow some really incredible Zinfandel. But the thing is, Cabernet Merlot, you're just getting a little more money out there, and no one's just, you know, anyone who plants a vineyard has probably more money than sense. But here's the issue is, who wants, you know, the problem is Zin is not a wine that's recognized as being synonymous with Santa Barbara County. I know that there's quite a little, maybe 15, 20 acres of Zin, I believe, on the shores of Lake Cachuma. I believe it's called the Paradise Vineyard. I believe someone told me that it's all Zinfandel with a little bit of Viognier. Happy Canyon could grow amazing Zin. I'm sure the Zin in Happy Canyon would be fantastic because it has very similar climatic conditions to Paso. Figueroa Mountain could grow great Zin. Ballard Canyon, starting to get a little cool for Zin, but I think there's a lot of options. A lot of options there. Los Alamos, Region 2 plus, between region 2 and 3. Yeah, I could see Los Alamos producing some good Zin. The question is, who's going to pull the trigger when you can buy really high quality Paso Robles Zin fruit for, $1,200 a ton? Hard to, not a lot of reason to plant grapes when you can already get really good fruit for the money. Awesome. So Josh, our San Diego sheriff, as well as a very knowledgeable wine individual who runs a company that takes people into Baja, Mexico for the delicious wines down there, said maybe it was Mission for sacramental wine because of Prohibition. Well, Prohibition, I believe, so what, 1919 to about 1929, 19th to the 21st Amendment. So I don't think Prohibition would have influenced what was planted in 1901, but it'd be interesting. And I don't know if Mission was heavily planted by anyone really except the Catholic Church. But again, I got to do some research, obviously, or Michael Holland will do the research and then tell me my business. Nice. Eddie Gray selling Rocchioli. Anyone who can sell a case of Rocchioli in this current sort of environment, you're a better salesman than I. Good job. Yeah, Samantha, I do think Happy Canyon would be a really nice place for a little Zin. It's the hottest AVA in Santa Barbara County. Does amazing, Cabernet, Sauvignon Blanc, Merlot, Cab Franc. It might be a little hot for Cab Franc out there, but they're doing some good stuff. Nice. That's right, Phil. You might actually know Josh because you were a San Diego sheriff as well. Phil Carpenter, Josh Niedermeyer. Say hello. Late to the party. What up, Michelle? You are not late. You are right on time because it is still day somewhere in the world and we're still drinking. If anyone has any further questions, let me know. I'm going to get out of here right now. A little longer than I intended to be on. But once I get fired up, wine in the glass, wearing a Hawaiian shirt. By the way, I should probably, in the credits, it'll say, Wes's wardrobe provided by Cook Street, Honolulu, Hawaii. I'm trying to mix up the shirts and the books that you can see, so you might have a little bit of insight into what fires my strange, weird brain. Hopefully you guys had fun. Hopefully you learned something about Zinfandel. I definitely recommend getting online. I have two last things for you guys, and that is a little bit of clarity on how the ordering process works and when it's going to end. I've been told two things, and I'm going to give you clarity by tomorrow because I didn't get the clarity email, or if I did, I didn't see it while I was making cookies. There's a chance that the 50% off the Ballard Lane, Smashberry, and Barrel Burner will end on Friday, and that's tomorrow. So tomorrow might be the end of the 50% off deal, which is $7.50 bottles of Sauvignon Blanc, Chardonnay, Pinot Noir, Zinfandel, Cabernet, Rosé. Beautiful wines. You'll love them all. I recommend them, and I haven't had one person out of the hundreds of cases that we've sold just in the last few weeks write me and say anything except glowing comments that the wine is delicious and they're having fun with it. So it's excellent wine for exactly what you need it to be. You can go on millerfamilywines.com or jwilkes.com if you want the J.Wilkes wines. The DD50 really only does anything for the other three wines. We call them the core four: Ballard Lane, Barrel Burner, Smashberry, J.Wilkes. J.Wilkes, though, is omitted from the 50% off. We give 20% off up to a case, I believe, and then 30% off for a case or more. What's really cool, though, I was told today that if you put 6 bottles of the other wines, the ones that are 50% off, use the DD50 promo code, put 6 bottles of J.Wilkes in your cart, you get 20% off the J.Wilkes, you get 50% off the other Miller Family Wine Companies, and you still get the 1 cent shipping. And if the 1 cent shipping doesn't show up in your cart for a case or more, so it's 1 penny per case, it will show up on your invoice. And if it doesn't for some reason, we'll make sure we make it right. So, thank you for all the people. Thank you to Katie and all the people in our warehouse that are still working and working hard to make sure that all you guys get all the wine you need. And thank you guys all for increasing our direct-to-consumer sales by over 1,000% in the last 3 weeks. These wines are going out, people are loving them, and the coolest thing is we're seeing repeat orders. So that means that people are taking care. I'm even thinking about putting an order form on throughout my whole neighborhood and just delivering people some really good wine. So I will tell you tomorrow if the 50% off sale ends tomorrow, and how long the 1 cent shipping. We're going to go to a flat rate shipping. So I know that when the 1 cent shipping disappears, you will never see 1 cent shipping again. You will basically end up seeing probably a $5 flat rate shipping moving forward from that. So I will let you know to make sure that you'll have at least one more time to tell you and all your friends how to get a $90 case of wine delivered, mostly 90 plus gold medal winning wine, which is the Ballard Lane, the Barrel Burner, and the Smashberry. Before this 50% off 1 cent shipping sale, let me just say, if you don't order a case of that Smashberry Rosé, you're going to kick yourself in the butt, because it is going to be beautiful. It's going to be perfectly, not mature, because it won't be mature, but it will completely come together and revigorate the fruit in that wine by late spring, early summer, when it starts getting hot. And you know you're going to need rosé all day. You know you're going to need your rosé for all that fun stuff. A nice crisp session rosé on the porch in this beautiful warm weather. You need a case of that Smashberry rosé. So don't forget that. Hope everyone had a wonderful time jumping in on learning something about Zinfandel on Day Drinking with Wes Hagen. I'm just kind of getting my my yips out in this whole video thing. By the time that we are done with sparkling isolation, I think we're going to probably recognize that I will know how to do these videos much better than I did at the very beginning. And we will take that expertise and we will roll it forward in some way that makes sense and that continues to connect us. I always finish the same way. Find people in your neighborhood, find people in your family, find people in your social circle that need support, offer them that support. Check your neighbors, make sure that they're okay via email, next door, whatever you do. And then think about someone who might not have a lot of connection and a lot of support now, and do consider reaching out to them tonight to let them know that you're thinking about them, that they are loved, and that we are all one community and working forward. Have faith in distancing, have faith in science, have faith in medicine, and remember to thank a doctor, thank a delivery person, and if you're not tipping 20% on your Instacart, you should be ashamed, because someone is shopping for you and potentially saving your life. Hope you guys had fun. If you have ideas for shows, stuff you want to learn, all that wonderful stuff. If I was a YouTube star, I'd say subscribe. I'm not, so screw that. Don't subscribe. Just come in every 5 o'clock. How hard is it? Click a button, drink some wine, whatever you're drinking. I really don't care. If we're together, that means we're not drinking alone. So everyone have a wonderful night, and we'll see you tomorrow night at about 4:45, and we'll fire up the actual show right at 5 o'clock. Take good care, and I hope you guys all had fun. Bye. Well, hey, everybody. Welcome